Hey guys, Ren over here, and today is another guide introducing the Bouncer class with a version 2 title. Bouncer recently had a big renewal update, and what a perfect timing for a class guide. This video will cover its new Photon Arts, the class skills, Photon Blasts, Addon Skills, etc. And recently, the custom Photon Arts is a new addition to the game, but I'll leave that for another video in the future. For starters, Bouncer's focuses on utilizing the jet boots and the soaring blades. Jet boots with technique stats, while the soaring blades focuses on might stats. They also specialize in aerial combat, along with providing a lot of down factors that can help stun large enemies much often as well. Let's start off with the Photon Arts for the jet boots. The jet boots have a lot of mobility. They are also one of the weapons that can infuse elemental techniques into the weapon itself to push for elemental downs. And despite them having all that into the kit, they are very fast in combat as well. You could see your life flash before your eyes before you can see it happens, but anyways, starting with the Photon Arts, we have Spinning Gust is a series of vertical kicks while closing in on enemies. You can also hold this Photon Art down to unleash a final kick that pushes enemies back. Violent Gale is a series of horizontal kicks, and you can also move around freely while doing this Photon Art. When you hold this down, you'll do a kick burst that will push you back away from enemies. Fierce Wave fires one shockwave and may stay in place for a split second. Holding this down will fire 2 and may stay out for a bit longer before it expires. Surging Impulse is a gap closure that you can rush enemies with, and when you hold this down, the behavior is different. This deploys an AoE of photon blades around you. When you deal enough damage, this will explode. The next weapons are the Soaring Blades, which recently had a major glow up this patch, within its kit and visually as well. The way they flow around now is very much similar to the base game with a combination of Bouncer plus Étoile, and Étoile is super floaty. Starting with Destructive Stork, that pushes you forward while being surrounded by photon blades around you. You can freely move around with this as well, but it has small movement after the first half of it. And when you cast a second variation of this Photon Art, the direction of the blades will swing vertically instead, gaining a bit of height. Rampaging Harriet is a series of combos following up with blades raining down from the sky. Pressing this Photon Art again will change its behavior, and instead of raining blades down, you will fire blades towards the target instead. Soaring Pheasant unleashes a series of vertical slashes while closing in on enemies slowly. This has a bit of tracking now, so it can reach targets from higher or low ground. When you press this Photon Art again, you will unleash attacks even faster, but on the spot. And Raving Falcon fires shockwaves at the enemy. You can also gap close with this when you press this Photon Art again for the second variation version. Now, each of these Photon Arts for the jet boots and the soaring blades have multiple variations built into them, as you already saw, allowing you to do finishers and more. We also have the Photon Blasts. The Photon Blast for jet boots, you'll shoot a gust of wind blast towards the enemy while it pushes you back. And the soaring blades will spawn multiple blades towards the enemies, following up with a finishing slash at the end. Next up, we have the skill tree. Like I said before, there has been a lot of changes compared to before, and in this video, we're going to go through each one of them. Let's start off with the Bouncer's subclass skills and why it's so popular these days. The Defeat Amplifier increases the chances to down enemies, whether it's physical downs or elemental downs. This works as both the main class and the subclass. Partial Destroy Advantage increases the damage you deal while reducing incoming damage depending on how many parts you've destroyed on enemies. This is a great sub-skill to have when you're fighting Solus, for example, since he has a lot of things you have to break in order to access its core. And this also works as both the main class and the subclass. Defeat PP gain allows you to recover PP whenever enemies like bosses or veterans, for example, are downed. Physical Decline and Elemental Decline increases the chances to down enemies with Bouncer's Photon Arts and techniques with jet boots and soaring blades. Decline Amplifier increases the chances of the down factors for both physical and elemental declines. You can also see for yourself on the enemy name text where the two icons will show up depending if you're using the soaring blades or jet boots for the down factors. This skill increases the decline efficacy by 200%. Decline Gelon Effect has an effect to weaken enemy attacks to the physical and elemental declines. This skill can increase the more you attack enemies with Bouncer's weapons when both physical and elemental declines are in effect. The potency for stage 1 is 90% and 88% for stage 2. Special Ability Optimization Bouncer allows you to be able to focus on one attack stat instead of having to focus on multiple stats. Since Bouncer has two weapons, jet boots utilizing technique damage and soaring blades utilizing melee might damage. This skill changes it so you'll be able to focus on one attack stat instead of both. So when you're augmenting your gear, it will take whatever stat is higher, whether you have a high melee stat or a high technique stat, making building your gear much more easier as well instead of having to focus on dual stat augments. Since Bouncer has access to elemental attacks much like Force and Tector, Only the jet boots are allowed to use this. The soaring blades are not able to unless you multi-weapon the jet boots together with the soaring blades. The Foil brand is a perk for the fire techniques. A seal will mark the enemy when you attack them, and the seal will explode while dealing bonus damage while recovering PP along with it. Photon Blast is a perk for ice techniques. This will mark a seal as well on enemies. You can charge this up to 2 stacks. One with 3 icicle marks and another with 6 marks. You can detonate this mark by casting a charged ice technique dealing bonus damage depending on what stage the mark is in. Zombie Clad is for lightning techniques. When you hit enemies at least 10 times with lightning attacks, you'll enter a state where you can cast a charged lightning technique to deal even more damage. This state will disappear once you cast a charged lightning technique. Zen Gale is your wind techniques. A vortex will appear on the enemy, and you can detonate this mark with any wind techniques, and the behavior for the mark detonation will behave differently. Grant's Glitter is your light techniques. When you cast a light technique, eventually you enter a state where a ring will show around your character, and when this occurs, all your light techniques are different. Magic Sphere is your dark techniques. When you cast dark techniques, you'll be able to charge up to 3 orbs that will appear next to your character. Depending on how many you charge, the number charged will correlate to your next charged dark technique, dealing bonus damage to enemies that are weak to dark elements. Now, while we're in the Jet Boots category, let's go over what Jet Boots have in the tree. Jet Attack Extra allows you to string 4 normal attacks instead of the default 3. Jet Intensity is your normal attack. This allows you to hold down the normal attack, enabling you to enter a series of kicks. These kicks will go faster and faster and end up with a deadly axe kick at the end of the combo, dealing a massive amount of damage. So this is very good for downstate enemies, but this isn't as good on enemies that are not stunned and move around too much. Blue Trick Bounce Counter is your weapon action. When you dodge attacks with your weapon action, you'll shoot a shockwave with an optional ability to normal attack afterwards to close in on enemies. Thrust Drive triggers after casting techniques with your jet boots. After casting a technique, a purple shine appears. When this happens, you can press a normal attack afterwards to close in on enemies. The Thrust Drive Skip Attack, your normal attack combo is changed to its 4th string after using the Thrust Drive. Boots Arts Skip Beat is when you chain 2 different Photon Arts together with the jet boots. When you do this, your next normal attack will change to the 3rd string, but the 3rd string for this one is changed. Jet Boots Element Set grants additional attacks depending on the last element you use. There is a little ring that appears on your feet. This allows you to deal damage with the Photon Arts combined with the last element you just used with it. Jet Sweep Jolt is an active skill usable for Jet Boots. You can charge this by casting the 2nd variation of the Jet Boots Photon Arts or using Jet Intensity. And with Jet Intensity, you can gain a full charge by completing the full combo. Jet Sweep Jolt Rapid Boost increases your Photon Arts attack speed by 45 seconds after using the active skill. Jet Sweep Jolt PP Save reduces the PP consumptions of your Photon Arts by 90% as well as the effect lasting for 45 seconds. Jet Sweep Jolt Short Cooldown reduces the cooldown time by 15 seconds when successfully dodging with Jet Boots weapon action. Now let's touch up on the Soaring Blades. Blade Counter Alternation allows you to follow up with a normal attack when successfully dodging with the weapon actions with Soaring Blades. And the weapon action is a brand new rework in the recent update for Bouncer. Pinion Blade is an active skill that deals 2800 potency. The cooldown for this is 30 seconds, but in exchange can recover a lot of PP back as well. Blade Arts Alternation allows you to chain different Photon Arts together. Whenever you cast a Photon Art, any Photon Art you decide to use immediately afterwards will change the attack to its 2nd variation as a finisher. Fanatic Blade is an active skill usable by Soaring Blades. When this is active, your weapon action and any Photon Art that you would do will fire 2 sets of Photon Blades. The potency while this is active is 50%, while it lasts for 30 seconds. The cooldown for this is a minute 30 seconds. Fanatic Blade Augment increases the number of blades that can be fired while this is active. A total of 6 blades can be fired instead of the usual 2. Photon Blade PP Recovery increases by 5% when you attack with your normal attacks to enemies that is struck with the Photon Blades. Blade Arts Parry negates any incoming attack when you use your weapon actions in the middle of a Photon Art. And if you successfully negate an attack the first time, you can activate this again within the same Photon Art. Blade Arts Parry Counter Edge will deliver returning damage to enemies whenever you negate attacks with the Blade Arts Parry. Now, the thing with why everyone has mixed feelings about this skill is because of its inconsistency. It is still possible to trigger a sidestep plus Blade Arts Parry counter, but the timing is so close together that most of the time you will whiff it. The way I usually go at it is I perform a Photon Art, I weapon action first to initiate the Blade Arts Parry with the shield, and then sidestep to try to get the counter off. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but the window is very tight. The counter attack part has a very small cooldown of like 0.25 25 seconds before you can do it again. But like I said, the timing to get both the Blade Arts Parry along with the sidestep counter is very tight. So it's like you'd have to press them both at the same time to trigger it kinda. It's wonky, but it works. I wouldn't recommend it since it is pretty advanced, and you're better off triggering 2 Blade Arts Parries as long as it's through the same Photon Art. And that's it for the skills. Mainly the parts in the Bouncer skill tree rely on Jet Intensity, the Jetsu Jolt after skill, Soaring Blade's Blade Arts Parry counter, Pinion Blade, and more, as well as the sub skills that enable you to do more damage and be more resistant to it the more parts you break on bosses. The Jet Boots have access to techniques, which is why it has benefits like Foe Brand, Zen Gale, Bardablot, etc. And for the Soaring Blades, it's all about the new weapon action counter, a renewed version of Blade Arts Parry, and the reworked Photon Arts. And you don't need to hold the weapon action for the Fanatic Blade active skill anymore since it triggers while attacking with Photon Arts and dodging attacks with your weapon action. Pinion Blade now recovers PP, so make sure you utilize that as well. Another thing to note is when to use the Jet Intensity. Like I said before, best times to use this is usually on downed enemies, only because they're unable to move and their weak point is usually exposed and the Jet Intensity can do so much damage to it. As for the add-on skills, its main effect is PP recovery for dashing and gliding, which is okay. And the main sub effect you want to aim for is the Encore Jump, since the Encore Jump can do damage as well. Encore Jump triggers when you jump for the 3rd time on enemies. There will be a small visual effect so you will know. And you can basically spam this as long as you don't accidentally start gliding. And this is also not locked on Bouncer only, meaning you can get the sub effect and use it as your main class, whether it's Hunter, Ranger, Gunner, Fighter, or whatever. And in regards to the new tech arts, I will cover this in another video. I don't want to make this video too long, but yeah. With that said, that's basically all there is I can think of. A total of 4 skills were adjusted along with the Soaring Blade's new kit. I feel like overall the speed of the attacks come out so much faster after the change, and being able to mix and match Photon Arts is also a nice touch to add some complexity to Bouncer. Bouncer is also a popular subclass as well due to the fact of breaking parts faster. But anyways, that's it for this Bouncer guide for the version 2 title. Hopefully this guide helped you better understand Bouncer and how the kit works and all that. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment them down below or even DM me on X or Discord, since I am mainly active on those 2 platforms. But yeah, anyways, I hope this helps, and I'll see you all in the next one.